Welcome, everybody, to episode number 11 of That's for Another Time. I'm joined by, this is not Brock Lesnar, everyone. We're joined by our special guest. This is Jim White, my buddy, the guy that claims that he can piss over a fence, which, by the way, Mike, first of all, welcome in Mike Fouts once again, back with his giraffe.
Yes, I want to make sure you can see the giraffe, Doug. It's right over my shoulder, the other shoulder, that one right there.
All right, so Mike, before we start, Jim claims that he doesn't have video proof of his buddy pissing over the Winnebago, but he claims on Super Bowl Sunday, which I believe you're going to be in attendance for, he claims that he can piss over that fence. So I just want to point that out to get everybody excited about it. I know it seems like it's not a show if we're not talking about somebody pissing over a fence, but here it is again. He claims that he can do it.
You know why there is no video, Doug? Because it can't happen. Never happen.
It'll happen.
The same reason there is no video of the Loch Ness Monster or Sasquatch. It can't happen. You can't piss over a Winnebago. It can't be done.
He claims.
I don't know if it was lengthwise. I think it was up and widthwise.
Well, I hope it's not lengthwise.
Yeah.
They're like 27 feet long. I still don't think it's humanly possible.
Does this guy have a dick or a power washer? Come on, you got to be kidding
I know,
me.
that's what I said last week. I don't even think if you put a hose, or you could spray a hose over top of one. All right, so he's going to go over the fence. Meanwhile, Davis can yak. I heard Davis was all fired up over the week because we told the story about him yakking. Jim called him a single A player, and we were professionals, which I think is hilarious, by the way, and very accurate. That's a great way of ranking it. I'm gonna reference that many times.
That was a good one, a classic. That's got a lot of runway. That's gonna be around for a while.
Yeah, honestly, I was sitting there watching it, and he's like, "Yeah," and then I got to Peaburg, 12 minutes away. And I had to pull over and throw up. And then another time I threw up 3 other times.
Yeah.
He's a grown-ass man.
Let's
I mean, you're 25.
He needed help opening up a twist off. All right, let's take it easy on that. But yes, and he's not here to defend himself. So the other thing I want to bust him on is the fact that we have the Bills and Chiefs game. And Mike, could you believe, as great as that game was, which we want to talk about, that any human being alive, especially a man, could fall asleep during that game?
I'm embarrassed to tell the story, Doug, but Sunday night, it's in the fourth quarter of this game. You can't find a better football game. And every friend I text is responding instantly, right? Like everybody's responding, watching the game, except for Davis. I'm like, that's weird. I wonder if he's watching on his phone or something. The next morning I get a text, I fell asleep after the third quarter.
I don't think I would have admitted it.
Are you kidding me? He's like, that's on me. Yeah, it is.
It's on you. Who else would it be on?
Yeah, right, exactly. You fell asleep during one of the best playoff football games in, 20 years or more.
Well, 2 things. It's on NFL Network tonight. Hopefully he doesn't fall asleep during it tonight. And hopefully if he's watching this at some point, he doesn't doze off when he sees the game on in the background.
Good one.
All right. First, what was your thoughts of the overtime? The game was tremendous. The game was tremendous. And I knew right away that we were going to get to this. By the way, boo-hoo Bills fans. The Vikings got fucked years ago against the Saints when they didn't have the kick. So God forbid they got to deal with that. But that overtime rule, to me, it's a simple fix. Both teams get the ball. Right. That's it.
They score, you get it back. I don't care what you do in the regular season. Whatever rules you have now. But in the playoffs, you got to give the other team a chance to score. I mean, because that was just terrible. Because you knew once Mahomes got the ball, the game was over.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So
I subscribe to that too. I think it was a real disappointment. And like you, Jim, in the regular season, I don't care, right? If you can't win in the regular season, too bad. But in the playoffs, I think both teams should possess the ball. Now, how you want to do that? Like if you want to do both teams get a possession, if it's still tied, then you do sudden death after that. Fine. I'm totally okay with that. But in a game like that, you got to have both sides get the ball.
Can you imagine though if they did do that and Josh Allen takes them down to score again and it goes back and that was everybody talks about what was it the Chargers and Dolphins,
right?
The greatest playoff game ever. I think that was I remember it, but I was a lot younger. This was the greatest football game I've ever seen.
Well, the great thing about the Chargers-Dolphins game is it went so long. But this would have been one of those games where you could have potentially been trading possessions, and that's what have made it better. And by the way, who cares if you play 12 or 15 minutes or 30 minutes? It's a playoff game, and the fact that it's not. It's it. You're playing 18 games anyhow. I mean, to me that's the NFL once again deciding, you know what, we fucked this up, and that's awful, because it happened in the Super Bowl, didn't it?
Yes. With the Falcons and the Patriots.
Yeah. I would be fine, by the way, in the postseason if you just played a 10-minute quarter, and then whoever leads at the end of 10 minutes is the winner. Yeah. Right? Just let them play football for 10 more minutes or 12 or 15 or whatever. That's fine with me too. But this is not the right answer. No. What we saw this week, that's not the right answer.
Do you think that McDermott took one for the team? Do you think he told that special teams coach just kind of pooch it down to that 2-yard line and the kicker just blew it? Or the special teams coach didn't say anything to him, or what?
What, in overtime?
No.
In
when
regulation.
they scored with 13 seconds left.
Yeah.
Instead of just, we're not going to squib it, but we're going to kick it deep enough to like the 1 or 2 yard line that they got to return it and knock off 5 or 6 seconds. Yeah. Like, was there a communication breakdown? I mean, I assume as a head coach, he's not going to throw anybody under the bus.
No, well, at least he's not going to. Other coaches might. Right. Urban Meyer. But yes. No,
yeah.
Well, I mean, you can kick a kicker and just tell him to do his fucking job.
By the way, actually, the year that Michigan lost that game to Michigan State, when the punter had the ball, I said if I was Jim Harbaugh, I would have immediately announced in the press conference that he's off the team and I'm never going to punt again in my entire life. But that was me overreacting. You know what's funny about that is that 13 seconds, which is unbelievable, was shorter than Dak Prescott's quarterback scramble.
Good one. Yes, it was. Yeah, that's right.
So if you think about the Chiefs drove down the field, tied the game in less time than Dak ran it and blew the season for the Cowboys.
Yep.
Okay, so, yes, true. But how about the Buccaneers game against the Rams? Cooper Kupp catches that ball. I didn't see a ref come over and touch that ball.
I know.
Cowboy fans, do they have a gripe? Maybe. Buccaneers fans have a gripe. Like, I just don't understand.
I agree, because we were yelling. Everybody was yelling, you got to touch it, right. And I think I yelled, that's what she said. But I'm not sure on that one. Yeah. But you're right. No, I didn't see anybody touching it. Right. You're right. Nobody was touching the ball.
Yeah. By the way, Doug, who's playing that game back there? I don't see any helmets.
Oh, yeah. They're back there.
Doug's getting into his masculine side right now, watching Gladiator. Right after this,
that's been on 2 weeks in a row, by the way.
Right after that, it's going to be the 300. So
Gladiator was on last week, and Shane noticed. My son Shane noticed that we had SmackDown on because we did it on a Friday night. By the way, that fucking disaster last week. It took like 8 days for me to edit this fucking thing. Because a fucking dog yacked on a computer. No, Apple Store. That did not happen. No, I made that up. I meant to hold that till next week. So,
hey, did that dog come around the corner and stick his foot in the ground to go yak on the computer?
Jim, to the bathroom. He went and took a piss over here. The bathroom's over there. He comes out. He's like, "Hey, Doug, I just stuck my foot in the ground, pivoting around the stairs." I fucking hate that. That's a good one. By the way.
I mean, that dog made it to the second level pretty quick.
He did. That's another good one. Yeah, he got second level.
He was competing. He competed to get to that second level. Yep.
Hey, I got a bunch of stuff. And I want to make sure. So that's for another time. Is David Ortiz, which I fucking knew that fucking guy was getting in. I do not. That's for another time. I want to talk about Rapist Burger now. Now the reason why we use this term is so this was a story from the last time. All right. So when Mike and I were in Baltimore and we go to Pickles. There's a girl in there. So the Ravens are playing the Steelers, and they freaking hate Pittsburgh. I mean, right? They hate Pittsburgh. This was, by the way, we went to Pickles, not that firehouse like your buddy wanted us to go to.
Good one.
That
with one
sucked.
Fucking 20-inch TV. Yeah.
I think it was one of those old with a back on it that you could wheel out on a stand.
Yeah.
So anyhow, the Steelers are playing there. So there's a girl there. She just had a black shirt on and she had a number 7 like papered onto her back, and it said Rapist Burger on the back, right?
No, she had a Big Ben jersey, and she had taken a piece of paper and written "rapist burger" and taped it over
On her
his
back.
name.
Yes.
Yeah, and then she had an arrow taped like at the bottom of the shirt pointing to her ass.
And it said no means no.
That's right.
So
That's
we
exactly
got a
right.
few drinks in us. And because I pointed out to Mike that why would you put that sign on the back of you? So
Yeah.
I asked her, I said, hey, why do you have that pointing down to the back? No means no. And she's like, I never realized it. So that's the rapist burger story that we had.
Yep.
Anyhow, it's a Hall of Famer that we're talking about. Hey, so I want to bring up Jim and I deciding. So I fucked my back up a couple weeks ago because the two of us decide that we're going to move a refrigerator out of a place. So what did we learn? What did we learn about that?
Take the advice of movers. If they say they can't move something, listen to the professionals. So Doug texts me and he's like, hey, can you help me move a refrigerator? Sure, no problem. I figure here. So I get over to the house and I'm like, okay, we're moving this refrigerator out to the garage. You getting a new one? He goes, nope, we got to go back to where I used to live and we got to move the refrigerator out of there. Okay, no problem. We get there and you have to go up steps. So now you're looking at this big, huge, these big new refrigerators now. They were all French doors, and I'm scratching. I'm like, we're gonna need a hand cart. This is too big to carry down. We got to take the doors off and everything. He's like, all right. I said, we'll do it tomorrow. So we get the hand truck. We go down the stairs, and if there was the funniest home videos, two idiots, one sitting at the top of the steps holding the thing, looking like, yeah, that's not going to, and the other one at the bottom of the steps saying, pivot. If we could just pivot. We can get it there. Obviously, like, well, let's try it again. Maybe if we move it up a couple more steps and then come down this way. Needless to say, didn't work. Had to call my son Nick to come over, and the look of disdain in his face, like, I can't believe these two fucking idiots actually attempted this. So now we got to push it all the way back upstairs. Get it all the way upstairs, put the doors back on, and he's like, I forgot to turn the water back on for the water line. I'm like, who knows? We might have cracked the line. I hope they don't watch this.
If Gum on My Shoe hasn't seen it yet, they're not gonna.
Yeah.
So he's at the bottom, and I'm holding the hand truck from the top. So that's how I fucked my back up. But at one point, it got away from me. So it's coming down the steps. Now, if that had been me at the bottom, I'd have been the fucking coyote or Bugs Bunny going through the thing. And then I cut my finger, so there's a blood trail on the steps, on the carpet. There's blood up the stairs like somebody tracked a fucking deer. And that's all there. There's scuff marks on it. I mean, we basically went in there and decided, it would be like if we said, hey, let's destroy this guy's place. And let's try to rip this shit up and then just leave it. And that's kind of what happened.
But we came up with a foolproof plan. Let's take the banister off. That'll get it down.
Which it did not.
Which, meanwhile, it was stuck at the bottom.
Yes. Other than shitting in the guy's toilet and plugging it up and leaving, we did everything else wrong. That's pretty much it. So that was moving the fucking fridge. That's my back's still not quite right.
This exemplifies what this whole thing is really about, this podcast. Bad decisions make really good stories.
Oh, well, absolutely.
Not only that, but we got a U-Haul truck that didn't have the ramp. So now this is a full-size fridge. Like, there's no way in hell the two of us are going to lift this fucking thing. I mean, he's a former WWE champ and everything, but we are not lifting that thing up.
Yeah,
it's true. We just look like, oh God. And then the owner showed up.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, all right. Let me see how I can word this. All right. Yeah. So the guy is very religious. All right. So I have said nothing like swearing is not a good, like that kind of stuff. Right. So the guy's not in the building. So I'm laying on my back trying to put something back in the fridge, and he belts something out, and I go, that's what she said. He walks in. And I hear him go, oh, Doug. And I'm like, I go, the one time, the whole time I said something inappropriate, he walks in.
And he stood there like he was supervising them. Not like, hey, can I help you guys with anything?
There was no way.
Oh, yeah, well, I wouldn't have helped you idiots.
There was no
way. Yeah.
All right, so so remember we were talking last week about the SEC championship, and I said I had a story for another time when it was the Cam Newton game. So there's a couple of things that were funny about that. So Mike has a suite at the SEC championship game, and this is year number 2. So I want you to tell the story first about you decide to pull a prank on the guy you work with.
Yeah, so let me back up just one second. So the reason we have a suite is to host customers, right, at the SEC championship. And so we have a bunch of customers there. I bring Doug and so one of the guys I work with, known him forever, we decide after drinking, I think at this point we had drank an entire bottle of Captain Morgan. Yes. But he had to leave and fly home. He had just flown up from Fort Lauderdale for the day. So he has his briefcase bag with him. And he's like, I got to get out of here and go to the airport. So we decide, well, all right, that sounds reasonable. Let's take every bit of silverware and utensils in the suite and put them in his bag.
Knives,
so
forks.
Like salad tongs,
right?
Salad tongs, knives, forks, you name it. Load his bag up. He goes out, takes the train to Atlanta Airport because there's a train you can take, right? What is it? I don't remember what the name of it is. MARTA,
yeah.
So he takes MARTA down to the airport. He gets down to the airport. He's getting out of the train, and he realizes his bag's rattling. Right? It's rattling something fierce. So he's in the airport. He's like, what's in this? Opens it up. It is full. Every pocket, everything full of silverware from the suite.
So he found it before he went through the TSA stuff, right?
Yeah. But he was like at security taking silverware and utensils out and just throwing them in the garbage. Like,
I want to point out that I was not part of that.
Well, I will say that I do have a new job after I retired. I now work for Vandelay Industries. And if you need to pitch somebody at the SEC championship game, I can speak on behalf of Mr. Costanza. And
you want to be my latex
we could do
salesman?
business down there, because it's the summer of Jim. Now.
He's the importer-exporter.
Yes. Latex and latex-related goods.
Speaking of shirts, do you like what I got on? Can you see this?
I love it. Yeah.
In tribute to, I have a Meatloaf story.
Yes.
I have a Meatloaf story that neither one of you guys heard about. So we went to see him play it was the Sands then. Now it's Wind Creek in Bethlehem. And some of the guys that I know shoot the screens for him and direct and shoot all the stuff in the Sands. That's part of the deal we have. So Meatloaf is performing. Now, I took Angel with me. He was not on his game. Like it was pretty bad. It was bad. And he claimed that he had vertigo, and I think his voice was just going. Now, this is at least 7 years ago.
Okay.
So our guys tell me that backstage, he has an emergency crew, like medics on hand every concert he does. His people, they had like a crew there, a first aid crew, in case something were to happen to him, like if he passes out or if he slumps over or whatever. So just to put in perspective, his health back then, like they anticipated him to die at a concert because he goes balls out. Like it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. And I remember hearing that. And then apparently like he was out on the ground and like he's got to get, not CPR, but like they got to kind of give him oxygen and help him back again. So that was a few years ago.
Back in 1988, 89, he played Kutztown for Homecoming. And
wow.
So I go
shit.
on the Facebook page, graduates of the 80s and all that, and they print up, they have the newspaper doing a story on it. And it said the show almost didn't go on because Meatloaf was under the weather. So even back then, he was still out of shape. And but the show went on. They said he put on a good show.
He did the same thing. Like he wasn't right. Yeah. Like you could tell. Like I had never been to a concert there before, so I thought maybe like the acoustics were bad or whatever. That was not it because we saw Styx there and they were great. But that was my Meatloaf story. This concert shirt is from '95, I think. He played at Stabler, and I saw him with my sister, who got them from a wicker chair store in Easton. Well, that was a front. But anyhow, that was it. Anyhow, I won't give the name of it. It's not there anymore. But they sold concert tickets and other stuff in the way back. But we were right like second or third row. It was freaking awesome. Like it was almost like the sweat from him was going to hit you. Like it was great. That's where I got this from. So I figured a tribute to him, one of my favorites. By the way, I wanted the original Bat Out of Hell tattoo on my arm. I wanted it here or something. Like, I don't know if anybody, I was going to take the CD cover. That I've been talked out of that multiple times.
Aren't you happy?
Well, probably right. Yeah, because it would fit better on my back. But
I would like to point out, I tried to talk you into that multiple times.
yes, that's right. That's right. Oh man. So anyhow, that's my tribute. So back to the SEC story. So not only was there silver in the bag, but so first of all, the year prior was the year that Alabama ended up winning the winning the whole championship. They beat Colt McCoy when he pansied out because his dad wouldn't let him play against Texas. They beat Florida and Tim Tebow. So Mike invites me to this thing, and you know like how we are when we're going to go. So I'm concerned that I'm not going to behave properly. So I remember in the beginning, because we got there like as early as we could, and I was really behaving myself, like I was being polite to everybody, and I was making sure, I mean, not that I wouldn't normally. And then about kickoff, it was balls out. So we got ripped, but the next year we go, so I was able to put the hammer down a little bit sooner. So there was a girl there with a guy. Now, he was much older than her. Am I right? Right? I didn't fuck that up.
Yeah, so he was the customer, and he brought what turned out to be his girlfriend.
His girlfriend.
Right. Now, he was one of those guys who he was older than us. There's no doubt about it. But he had like every ounce of hair he had. He had a lot of hair. He had thick hair, and it was all silver. All silver. And I think it had turned silver when he was fairly young, right? Like in his 30s.
Right. But,
So
I mean, what I
look
did
old.
was an accurate mistake.
So
she was talking to us. I mean, we had a guy who was there by himself that at the end of the game said, wherever you guys are going, I'm going with you. I mean, so we were having fun. Yeah. So we were talking, and I said to her, is that your dad that you're with, or does your dad work for the company? Yeah. And that's when she told me that it was not her dad. Now, I don't think he heard me. I don't know, but it was an honest mistake. It wasn't right. I mean, I didn't say, it's not like saying to a woman that you look like you're pregnant and you're not. I thought that was her dad. It was an honest mistake.
You can hear the music stop, like the record scratch as the music stopped.
So a couple years ago, I take Nicole out. We're down visiting my parents. So we go to House of Blues in Myrtle Beach, right? And so it's me and her sitting at a table, and then they have the other seating right below. So in walks this whole family, and they're all like Carolina Panther fans, right? And this one kid had a Cam Newton jersey on, long, flowing blonde hair, and I pretty much said to her, I'm like, you got to get a Giant jersey. Your daughter's got to get a Giant jersey. And he turns around and looks at me. He goes, no, I don't think he needs one. And I was like,
oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
But in my defense,
that's worse.
If that was my son, he wouldn't have hair down to his ass.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That place was dark in there, the dark light. But my face looked like Rudolph's nose. That's how red it was when the guy said it.
And then the kid goes, Dad, don't worry, he was a WWE champion.
Yes, good. Yeah. And Dad, don't take on Brock Lesnar. Don't do that.
All right. So I have another note, and it just says Bronco getting shot. All right. So Jim's reading this over. He's like, what the hell is that? So you tell the story, but this has to do with Kellen Moore when he played at Boise State, and when we went to see the Cox in South Carolina and watched in that open air bar where we saw Mike Tomlin, which, by the way, is for another time.
Yes, correct. So we went. That had to be. We went to see the Cox play the Gators.
Well,
right?
Charlie Weiss was smashing coolers on the sideline for Florida at the time. when he was the
he's a
OC
big
there.
bastard.
So that's when that
He's
Muschamp,
big.
I think, was there. I think.
I
Maybe
think so.
not.
I think
Maybe
it was.
not.
Well, no, he was there with Muschamp.
All right, then that's who the coach
I think
was.
it
Then.
was.
Okay.
Right. And so it was a fall day. It was beautiful. It was warm. And we go to this bar. We're sitting outside, and Doug wears like a wife beater, right? And when the sun goes down, it gets fucking cold.
I don't think I was wearing that, but that's a good one. I don't think I was, but it got cold.
It got really cold. So we had to go inside and sit down by Mike Tomlin. So anyway, so we're watching the Boise State game, and it's we're ripped by this point, right?
Yes.
We started drinking at 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a late game. It's midnight, and the fucking Boise State mascot is a Bronco, right, in a full Bronco outfit. And so they show the field goal shot, right, where you're behind the kicker and you can see the uprights, and the mascot is standing right by the goalpost, right, and the kicker misses. It's not even close. Right, misses by a mile.
He Vanderjacked.
He Vanderjacked big time, and the Bronco just falls over, like Kennedy getting shot. Right, just
Good one, by the way. They
Back and to the right.
back into the left. They showed this repeatedly for highlights that night, and every time we see a mascot react like that, but he literally flailed back, and it looked like somebody shot him, because this was their chance to win the game. They were going to go undefeated. They were going to win. They're going to be national champs. They were going to claim their national champs like UCF did, and that's what. So every time, when they show Kellen Moore, he was the quarterback. Now I can't help but think that.
So Kellen Moore, with the Cowboys right now, he's the next great coordinator, right? Wasn't Jason Garrett the same next great coordinator, and that's why he was with the Cowboys?
Yeah.
So basically, he's Jason Garrett.
Yes. Well, anybody
how long?
Well,
How long is it before Jerry Jones shit cans McCarthy and hires Sean Payton?
Oh,
right.
That the Vikings should hire him. Then somebody could put a bounty on his ass on the sideline.
You know, it's interesting.
Good.
Quinn just took more money with the Cowboys.
I heard,
to stay.
yeah.
And a friend of mine, his prediction before the Cowboy debacle in the playoffs was Dan Quinn will be the Cowboys head coach next year, because Jerry doesn't want to lose Dan Quinn. He'll get rid of McCarthy. But now you put Sean Payton on. So I think that McCarthy gets one more year. I don't think he's going to bring in Payton this year. And Payton, he said on Dan Patrick today, he's had offers, like back channels, come like 2 teams, and he wouldn't say who they were. But I don't know. I can't see. Payton's good. He's a dick.
Yes.
In a good way, he's with the Saints. Like, all he wanted to do was score points, and run up the score on any team at home. Which, fine, that's your prerogative. I kind of have a soft spot for the guy because after 9/11, when the Giants flew out of Newark Airport, I gave him a hat to wear for the game, and he wore a Port Authority cap.
Okay.
For the whole game, and when he came back with the Cowboys with Parcells, I have a picture with me and Jerry Jones sitting there. And I looked at Jerry and I pointed, I'm like, that guy in the bus, a lot of people are pissed off that you hired him, meaning Parcells. And he's like, he's going to win me championships. I'm like, unfortunately, you're right. Thank God I was wrong on that. But I ran into Sean Payton. I said, I don't know if you remember me, I gave you the hat. So this is 2004, 2005. And he's like, I still have that hat in my office. And so for me, Sean Payton's got a little soft spot, but I just don't want to see him go to the Cowboys. Any other team but the Cowboys.
So here's another example of how Minnesota is going to miss out on 1 year. They should fucking do whatever it takes to get him. But they're going to not hire him, and then somebody like the fucking Lions is going to get him next year, and then they're going to go to the fucking Super Bowl. That's what's going to happen. That they're going to miss out again, just like they missed out on Pete Carroll. They didn't want Pete Carroll. They waited. They hired, I don't know fucking who it was, Leslie Frazier or somebody. Thank God that he's already been around, because they're probably going to go after him too. Go ahead. Somebody hire him. But they're going to miss out on Sean Payton. That's who I never even thought about that, because I'd like to see them get Brian Flores from the Dolphins.
I like Flores.
But Flores does not, he's got too good of a record. You gotta hire a guy that's below 500 in his career or has no business being a head coach.
I got it. Ray Hanley.
I don't think he's a Kotite's not available. Hanley's not available. Hugh Jackson is probably a candidate at some point. Rich Kotite, all those fucking
Maybe
clowns.
bring back Shermer.
Oh God, he was the offensive coordinator there, right? They'll fuck this up. By the way, speaking of that, what's the word down there? Because you're close to Miami and not close enough. I mean, were you stunned with Flores that they fired him?
Shocked. So
right?
So here's the story. The local guys report is that. The owner, Stephen Ross, loves Tua. Flores didn't want Tua. He does not think he's the answer. And so the GM who drafted Tua is in Ross's ear constantly. So that's the story that they clashed. And because they had some word for it, like they had collaboration issues is how they described it, right? Which means the head coach didn't agree with the owner. So the owner.
Right. So he got rid of him. That's something. Because that surprised me.
It surprised the hell out of me too. I think Flores is going to be a really damn good coach, and he proved it. And I don't know. I'm sorry, Mr. Ross, but if my head coach does not believe in that quarterback, he might have had a somewhat good year this year, but he could be a one-hit wonder. You know, look when what was it? Scott Mitchell, right? When Marino got hurt.
Oh boy!
He's backing Marino up. He's going to be the next greatest thing, you know. And he goes to Detroit and shits the bed.
Yeah.
So is that what Tua like?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think Tua is the answer down in Miami.
No, and he doesn't hate Tua as much as Mike Zimmer doesn't like Kellen Mond. I can tell you that. But there's another example. He's in practice every day.
Right.
Flores is in practice every day. He's got to know what's good and what's not. I mean, I get it. Yeah. But then again, he's not the guy that's going to be on the hook because they're the GM and the owner are the ones that wanted that draft pick in the first place.
I mean, look what happened with the Eagles, right? They got rid of Peterson because he didn't like Hurts. And
that's another guy Minnesota should try for.
You know, now who knows how he's going to be with Philly with this new coach, but you know, we'll see. It's going to take a year for these teams to figure out these quarterbacks. And they'll be sitting in their film room the whole year saying, how do we stop this guy? And eventually everybody will be able to stop him. And that's fine. If he gets you to the playoffs, gets you a win or two, maybe he is successful. I mean, not everybody wins the Super Bowl.
Well, that's a lot of pressure to put on him if that's the case. That's for sure. Right? Because, I mean, he's not – plus he can't stay healthy. I mean, I love him because he's a Bama guy. He was great in college.
That's the biggest issue.
Can't stay healthy.
He's a nice kid down here. He belongs to the same golf club my buddy does. He's a nice young man. He just can't stay healthy for a 17-game season. There's no chance.
No. Yeah. Well, you know what? When you want to run, you know, when you're that mobile – you're opening yourself up for injuries, you know. And you even look at Lamar Jackson. That guy's incredible, but again, he's hurt. Him being hurt cost them a playoff spot this year, and you know you can't think as soon as nothing's open, I got to run, and you got to be able to.
Well, we kind of had this discussion on Sunday watching the games that. First of all, there is too much emphasis on the fan base as far as who you're hiring. So the fantasy guys, the fantasy number guys, Lamar Jackson, Kirk Cousins, these guys that can't fucking win and will never win a playoff game, they're all fantasy numbers. All anybody's worried about, all fans want is fantasy guys. Now, Mahomes, turns out he's a fantasy guy, but he's a good fucking quarterback. He can win games. I don't give a shit if he throws for 110 yards. I mean, Matt Stafford is not necessarily a fantasy guy, and he's fucking killing it. Like, there's too much emphasis on what the fans want, and the fans want a guy that can throw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns, run around like fucking Kyler Murray. Tell me Kyler Murray is going to go to a fucking Super Bowl playing the way he does. There's another guy that's going to fucking get hurt. Like, I just don't like the fact that there's so much emphasis. I don't give a fuck what the fans think. If I think a guy can win because I've sat down with him, that's who I should hire. That's who should be my quarterback. That's who should be my coach.
So, Doug, I'm distracted because on the TV back there's a guy who just won a race and he was standing on the car like this. I think I saw myself in the background.
Good one. Like Kyle Larson. Fucking Mike's never going to let that go. I showed that picture of him taking a picture of Kyle Larson. He circled himself the whole rest of the night. This is me. I was busy working, getting some shots and sound and everything, and he was back there doing that. I got a couple more things because we're getting close here. The fact that the Rams, so there are certain teams in the NFL that I insist are not committed to win. The ones that are going to have people come to their games regardless because of their stadium and the ambiance, the whole deal. I think the Rams have proven with all the signees that they had that they are committed. I mean, going and getting who they got, Von Miller, right? They got Beckham, who's turning out to be having a good season. They go get Stafford. Like, they are committed to win. There is not many teams that make that. It's basically like watching an NBA team go out and sign a bunch of talent so you can load up and be good for 1 year.
Yeah, their window's closing. I think they have cap issues coming up, right?
Well, they probably do, so they got to do it in this season.
And I mean, you know what? Good for Matthew Stafford. I mean, there was a guy with Detroit. They think, like, man, number 1 draft pick. He's going to turn out not to be a bust, but a pretty good quarterback. And he gets to a team with a guy that knows how to run an offense, and this guy could be, he could be a Hall of Famer if he if this team stays the way they do. Like, there's no reason why he won't have a Hall of Fame career. The Rams are the team I'm pulling for in the NFC because I fucking hate the 49ers. I fucking hate them. So,
well, that's a big Giants rival, right?
Yes. Okay. I just, just never. And it goes back to in a playoff game in 1981, Giants.
There we go.
Giants, 49ers. Everybody loves Joe Montana. Being a Notre Dame fan, love him too. He's running towards the sidelines, and he goes like he's getting ready to step out of bounds. The defensive player stops. He cuts back inside and runs for another 10 yards. John Madden, greatest play I ever seen. I'm like, that. You got to be kidding me. So ever since then, I've always hated the 49ers. So
that seems reasonable.
Yeah,
so,
why not?
Think about Matthew Stafford's career in Detroit. By the way, how bad would the Lions have been if they didn't?
Right, yeah.
Like, they would have gone 1-15 for 10 fucking years.
Yeah.
He single-handedly won 5-6 games, 4 games a year.
Yes. And if the Lions only dedicated themselves to winning a little more and picking up a couple of people, they might have had chances for being in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Instead, you hire, a rocket scientist, Matt Patricia, to be like how.
And then they trade for Jerkoff, which is classic that they get that fucking
good one. Good one.
All right. So wait, you were talking about something. I was thinking about it. I lost it now. I lost it. All right. I lost it. That was it. I got, that's for another time. Jimmy Galapagos.
Good one.
That's for another time.
Good one.
That's for another time. Jim knows what I'm talking about. That's for another time. Not Garoppolo. Galapagos.
Galapagos.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah. So I wanted because I one more thing I wanted to get to because we can talk about Brady. I had Brady. I had Brady for another time. The fact that his retirement I think is ridiculous. The fact that Shaq, who can turn around and go like this, is now an NFL expert. He thinks Coach Prime. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Coach Prime should coach in the NFL. That's fucking classic. So I think we learned that there is no need for there to be expansion in the NFL because the games last week were shit. And shockingly, we get down to 8 teams, the teams that deserve it, and they're good. This, to me, proves there should not be a fucking expansion in college football because that's what you're going to see. That's my theory. You put more teams in, you're going to see shitty fucking games like we saw in the first round of the NFL. But I heard people's theory, including I think this guy right next to me, this is why we need to expand. Look at how great these games were this week, because I read that this week too. I think it proves that the more teams you put in, the shittier the first round playoff games are. And when you get down and you finally weed out the crap, you get some good games.
Yeah, I generally agree with that. The only thing I'll say about college football is I have long held this, that I would be okay with 6 teams, with 6. Top 2 get a bye, and then now this year was a bad example, right? Because really 3, 4, 5, and 6 all sucked. They had no chance. But during what I would call a normal college football season, you can have somebody at 5 or 6 who really should be or deserves to be in that top 4, and maybe they had a lot. So 6 I would be okay with. When you get past 6, though, you're going to get what you got in the NFL this year, which is that first round sucks.
I'd go 8. I can live with 8. I don't know if I can live with 12.
No.
No way.
I like 6, but this year was probably the only year that there wasn't at least one team. Well, I'm not sure about Notre Dame. Like last year, A&M, the 2 consecutive years before that, Georgia got freaking screwed. So I think that 6. Yeah, I don't want to see automatics.
No,
I do not, because I do not want to see. I'm sorry about the Pac-12, but my God, I mean, what the fuck? It's not any. I mean, that's normally what happens. You get a shitty team.
So I'll throw this out there, and no offense, Mike Bodie, but can you imagine Rutgers winning their side?
Well, that's
of
never
the Big
going
Ten.
to freaking happen.
Let's just throw it out there for shits and giggles, right? So can you imagine if Rutgers won the Big Ten?
Well, it's kind of like
with a 3-loss team, and they just say they beat. And I don't even know if Ohio State's in the same.
They're in the same division.
Okay, so let's say they beat Wisconsin, a 10-2 team that year, or 10-1 team that year, and Rutgers has 3 losses, but they snuck in because
it's kind of like all those years that Clemson played Duke and Pitt. It's like when Ohio State played Northwestern. Those teams that were in because they basically survived at 11 or not even 11. Sorry, at 9-4 or whatever, 9-3. So that's why they're, and I don't want a group of 5 automatic.
I think we saw what happens when a group of 5 gets in.
Yeah.
Although Cincinnati played them.
That's the best. That's the best group of 5 team I've seen.
Yes.
But they proved that they had one game that they needed to play well, and they did. But that's it. None of these other ones didn't do it.
I'm stuck on something, Doug. The concept of Rutgers winning.
I know. You know what? I'm sorry. I just try to be as crazy as.
I'll tell you what.
Just trying to throw something stupid.
I'll tell you what. I bet you that I'll see a guy piss over a Winnebago before I see that.
Well, apparently it's going to happen for the Super Bowl.
I was going to say that Rutgers is winning the Big Ten.
I was going to say they were going to make skirts mandatory for quarterbacks before Rutgers makes it to the fucking playoffs. Geez, they won 4 games and we got them crowned as the Big Ten champions. They crowned their ass.
See, we're
you want to crown their asses?
Yes.
Okay.
By the way,
it was an example. Don't be so literal. We all know that Rutgers is never going to win a Big Ten championship in our children's lifetime. I don't care if they get Urban Meyer and Nick Saban on staff. They're not winning.
I got to write notes. You got another Urban Meyer. That's for another time. I want to talk about that guy. Because, by the way, we all learned from Urban Meyer that coaching in the NFL is hard. No shit.
Yes.
No shit. By the way, so all the pennants I have on the wall over there, they're all the Big Ten. So there's no Rutgers pennant. There's no Rutgers pennant with the Big Ten. I got them from my buddy Sean. He claims that they never sent it because it was before they merged with Maryland. There's a Maryland one over there. So I got this little tiny Rutgers one at the bottom. But when they beat Penn State last year, I think I put it up above there. Oh, they didn't beat Penn State. But anyhow, that was it.
So for another time,
yes.
Would you rather be an NFL coach or would you rather be a college football coach?
I would rather coach in college because I like college better. I think I don't want to say it's harder. But the fact that you have to recruit, I would much rather, because I think the atmosphere and the team walks going in and then being on the sideline, all that, I just think it's a lot more fun.
Agreed. Totally agree with that. Who puts in more work, a college coach or a pro coach?
Well, he claimed that he didn't know how much work they got to put into it.
I say bullshit to that. I just for the fact that this guy was on, when he was at Florida, saying how stressful it was right after they won the second national title, he's on the phone talking to recruits saying, hey, you hear what we're doing right now? To me, personally, I think at college, it's a lot more difficult for the fact that you got to get 83 scholarship
Well, you're
players.
recruiting like all the time.
It's 24/7.
Yeah.
At least in the pros, pros is more pressure
Yeah.
because you're getting hired to get fired.
At Ohio State, he never had time to grind on a co-ed.
Yeah, that's
So
what I was
now
gonna
in the
say,
NFL,
right? I think-
he had time to grind or have one grind on him.
Yeah.
So she had a
the
sign on the
NFL.
back that said Urban
Good
Meyer.
one.
Yes
Good one.
means yes,
No.
pointing to the back.
No means no. Yep.
All right. That's pretty good. So we're running out. We got
Although
one.
I actually heard that was Sean Swallow in a wig.
That's our buddy that you met him. That's the guy. That's this guy who shit himself at Best Buy. You heard that story, right?
Yep.
That's for another time.
Yep.
That's for another time because that's classic. Because it's a classic story that he tells like in the first 30 seconds of some new people coming over to the house. Like there's no holding back.
What is he, George Brett?
All right. I got to make a note of that one. All right. Good stuff. That's for another time. Episode number 11. Mike, thanks. Oh, Jim's got one more.
When you guys come up for the Super Bowl, you should do a round table.
We might have to do have to do something live before kickoff.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, can you believe that the fucking Phantoms have a game on Super Bowl Sunday?
Holy shit.
Thank you very much, Cancer, for getting me out of doing those games. By the way, I told Angela, silver lining and everything. I found it. Thank you. I'm sure there's some people that I probably shouldn't have said that. But anyhow, thank you, because I don't have the fucking Super Bowl Sunday. There's 3:30 dropping a puck, I think. 3:30 or 3 o'clock dropping a puck. You got to be kidding me. Anyhow, we'll have time to do that while gymnastics is going on for Davis. That's for another time because I wrote that down, but I'm going to save the gymnastics story for another time. But we should probably we might have to get a freaking robo camera that rolls around to get not this fixed one because we'll never fit all of us in here. I am surprised that I fit next to Jim in here in this shot. All right, Mike.
There's a lot of Durbis on the ground here to put a rolling.
Durbis is for another time too. I promised Jim I wouldn't bring up Durbis. That's for another time. And she's going to get pissed off that you brought that up.
Okay, so here's the story.
Okay, we got time for
a person that shall be unnamed.
That he knows really well.
Really, really well. The United States women's soccer team beat China in California back in 1999 for the Women's World Cup. Just so happened to be the same day that JFK Jr.'s plane crashed. So the unnamed person comes home and is talking to an older unnamed person that they're related to and says, can you believe that John Kennedy Jr. is dead? They're saying there's a lot of Durbis washing up on the shore.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yep. And I said, Durbis. And to this day, 23 years later, still a topic of conversation, and who knows? Next time they might go up to the Galapagos Islands. You never know.
So that reminds me, first of all, every time I'm watching racing, because racing, they have a caution for debris on the track, and I'm watching a chili bowl, and I tell him there's Durbis on the track. I got another one for another time. Angela thinks the new GM of the Vikings is attractive. It's a loose effort for that, but that's for another time. I got to tell you that story. Okay. That's for another time. What do you have for words of wisdom?
Here are my words of wisdom for everybody, Doug. When life gives you lemons, you should make lemonade. Then try to find somebody whose life has given them vodka, and then have a hell of a party.
All right, that's a good one.
Yep.
Well,
there you go.
Today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's not bad. All right, that's better than the one about washing your hands in the toilet. But anyhow,
Yeah, good one. Yeah,
and denial's not a river in Egypt. So just remember that one too.
I think somebody's making popcorn. All right, at least the dog didn't bark today. That was, by the way, and I didn't fart this time. I did manage to make it through without ripping one. All right, Mike, good talking. So we'll talk next week. Jim, thanks.
No, thank you for having me.
All right, so that was fun. That's for another time, episode 11. I hope people are enjoying this. We're loving doing this. This was a lot of fun, and we'll see you next time.
See you Super Bowl Sunday.
See you, boys.